Hello and a heartfelt welcome to each one of you. I am Kurian Jose, and it's truly an honor to have all of you with us for another engaging episode of the Great Indian Retirement Show. In today's episode, our spotlight shines brightly on retirement planning for women. By centering our attention on women, especially with the topic of retirement, we aspire to catalyze meaningful conversations, believing that through awareness, every individual, irrespective of gender, can approach retirement with confidence and financial security. Joining me today is Mrin Agarwal, a financial educator and advisor with an experience of more than 26 years in the wealth management industry. She founded FinSafe, a financial education organization focusing on equipping Indians with strategies to handle their money based on goals, their growth, and safety, of course. She also co-founded Movemantra, a financial awareness program for women and working professionals to empower them to be truly financially independent. Mrin is also a regular contributor on various leading dailies and television channels. Welcome to the show, Mrin.
Thank you so much, Korean.
So, Mrin, you have been associated with women and financial planning for a long period of time. What has been your experience with financial investments? Because most people that have interacted with men or women, I think they kind of get lost as soon as the term financial planning or financial investments come into your mind. So, what has been your experience?
So specifically, when you talk about women, I think there is a huge gender savings gap. And it is due to various factors. The first, of course, being that most women believe that managing money is something done better by men. And since they don't get involved in it, they have no idea what's happening to their money or how their money is getting invested. Of course, it's a well-known fact that there is a gender pay gap of 20% in India. So a combination of having a pay gap and then not knowing where your money is invested, or the few women who do invest their money themselves tend to look at traditional products like fixed deposits, insurance policies, which do not beat inflation, right? And so the gender savings gap is widening. And remember, women also work lesser number of years due to caregiving responsibilities. So this really means that at the end of the day, the gender retirement gap is also huge, right? And it's something that nobody is talking about today, the gender retirement gap, but it is very big. And I would say that, yes, over the years, more women are getting into managing their money, but all of those fears about making losses, about the fact that they really don't know who to ask questions to still remain. But I think things are slowly getting better, and I do believe that a lot of awareness is required to help bridge some part of this big gap.
I perfectly agree with you, and I think the stereotypical role of men getting in the bacon and women kind of taking care of the household is no longer exists. It doesn't exist, and I would like to believe that women are much more astute and financially savvy in terms of investing it in a right way, because men would tend to in their belief that they are supposed to be the providers and they are the ones who know it all, may take risks which may not be in the best interest of the family. So I think that's where it's very important for the women to kind of step in and know where the investments are going and what are the aspects and what are the aspects of the investment products and the risk associated with it. So it's extremely essential,
Yes.
especially in that light, for the women to know where the investments are, what are the risks associated, when it is maturing. That's very important. So that it kind of comes back to the point that both of them to be financially savvy and to know where the investment is very, very crucial.
Absolutely. Very crucial to know that.
Yeah. So what has been your experience there in terms of what are the products that people invest in, especially with the focus on women? And do you think that they're the right products for investments, or would you suggest better products that you could look at?
Well, of course, for the salaried, it's all about the Employee Provident Fund. And I think some people, of course, are looking at some of the insurance schemes for the long term. I do see a lot of people when they touch 40 for some reason, they love buying these annuity plans, right? Deferred annuity plans. And I, again, while the Employee Provident Fund is a great product to invest in, it gives you a tax-free return and everything. But given the fact that the returns are limited, it can only get you that much. But I am not in favor of any of the investment linked insurance schemes, because most of them come with very high costs, which means that they eat into the returns of the investor, and many a time they really do not actually help you beat inflation, right? So these are the main two products people are looking at. It's very unfortunate, because many people believe that retirement is something that I need to start looking at probably when I'm post 45, and I do a lot of sessions on retirement planning, and it's very sad to do these sessions, because people figure out that they are so unprepared for retirement at this stage. So I think it's very important that for anybody to, when they are planning for retirement, you do need to add equity exposure to your investments that you're planning for retirement. And of course, there are various ways that you can add it. Again, within equities, since there are many ways that you can do it, like you can do it through stocks and baskets and mutual funds, NPS, but you need to also do it the right way, because what is really important is that you need to get into an equity that you can remain invested into for the long term for it to really grow.
Very true. And you touched on the right points. I think India doesn't really have a social security system, at least an established social security. The one that comes closest is the Employee Provident Fund. And the Employee Provident Fund has very limited numbers, that there's a percentage of basic. And usually among corporates, it's more of a checkbox that the basic minimum one that you do that. And that money is definitely not enough to kind of fund your retirement corpus. Second, if you look at the pattern, it has to be invested as per a pattern. And the pattern allows only 5 to 15% participation into equity. The rest is fixed income. And you know what kind of returns fixed income can give you, and usually doesn't beat inflation. So, and the third, what happens with PF is the PF decision of investment as per pattern is taken by trustees, and it's the same amount, same investment model for a 25-year-old and a 60-year-old. So there is absolutely no leeway for somebody to pick and choose where he would like to kind of dial up or dial down the equity, because the trustee in the right way is taking decisions on behalf of all the employees. So I agree, PF is a good one, but there are definitely other products that are available in the retirement space which one can look at from an investment perspective. So Mrin, again, the question that keeps getting asked to when I speak to people is, I'm too young to start investing. I just started my career, I've got my EMIs, I have to pay rent, I'm getting married, I have to find a house, it's too expensive city to live in. But that's the whole question, and like you said, it's when you hit 40, 45, it's frankly too late. So how do you handle that?
Yeah, well, I think it is difficult. Of course, when you start working, you have a lot of aspirations and you want to have a lot of fun. But I think we should always remember, and I think, one of the things that all of us have grown up on is this whole our parents were extremely conservative, and at that time it was really about saving for the future. So I think, if there is a way that we can save for the future, at the same time have fun and have that right balance, things would work out. Today, what we are seeing is that people are saving less than 10% of their take home, because they're only spending it on having fun, or taking loans to have fun, or taking loans to acquire assets, right? And first of all, that needs to change. You need to be saving at least 30 to 40% of your take home, and then you need to be actually investing it correctly, right? So I would just like to share a small number here, that if there is a 30-year-old person who has expenses of 50,000 a month, they would need at the age of 60 to maintain the same lifestyle, a retirement corpus of, hold your breath, 7 crores, wow. Right? How many people actually think that way? I do a lot of TV shows, and on all the TV shows, like I have these queries that come saying that I want to have 1 crore for my retirement. And my first question to them is that, how did you arrive on that number?
Yeah. Is that
right?
Enough?
Yeah. And of course, this number is based upon your expenses, right? It's just not any number. Yeah. So, I think most people would need at least 3 to 7 crores to maintain current lifestyle, right? So across various income bands or expense bands, you would need at least 3 to 7 crores corpus. Now think about that. What are you going to do if you don't have that? At the age of 60, there's no loan, right? I'm not sure if people want to be dependent on their children or anybody else. So really, you always have to save for the future, and you have to start thinking of doing it right away.
Absolutely.
And as we all know that if you can start early, a smaller amount invested for a longer period of time compounds much more than a larger amount invested for a short period of time.
Absolutely.
Right? And this is the reason why you do have to look at retirement possibly as soon as you start working.
No, you hit the nail on the head. Everybody kind of tends to postpone this entire investment process till it's too late. And by the time you're 40, 45, and suddenly realize, okay, my initial responsibilities are over. Now I need to start investing for retirement. And by that time, people think, the ship has sailed. And then you just kind of give up. Okay, we will see. But I think that's not the way it has to be done. So then there's this another instrument that has been introduced. I think it's been around from 2004. People started talking about it in 2011-12. Initially, the National Pension System was introduced for only the government employees and central government, obviously, because the government realized defined benefits was not sustainable. I mean, they were building up corpuses. A significant portion of your revenue was being spent on taking care of pensions, and they moved to the defined contribution piece. And then they realized that it actually makes sense, and they extended to the citizens of India, whether it's resident NRIs and OCIs. They went further and said that corporates could look at it for their employees. So has the National Pension System been a part of your retirement advice? What has been the feedback that you have got from people, if you have suggested that, and how do you see NPS playing a role in the retirement bucket?
Well, I think NPS is actually the retirement scheme for all Indians, and I did write an article about it exactly saying the same thing. And I'll tell you why. I feel that because 2-3 things which are very essential to grow money. One is, of course, the equity exposure that I spoke about, but the other is really remaining invested, right? And the good thing with NPS, because it's logged in till the age of 60, it drives good investment behavior. You cannot pull the money out, so the money is there and it's growing, right? And I think that's what really works for the product. Of course, there is lots of tax benefits, but I have never been one of those who advise people to take products because of a tax benefit. But that said, for somebody who's coming in through their employer, there is a 10% deduction available both in the old and the new tax regime. And otherwise, any other self-employed or individual, you can still do the 50,000 rupees and get a tax benefit. So that's one bit of it. But I also love the way the product is designed because let's talk about the distribution phase post 60. There is 40% through which you get a pension. And Kurian, I have seen this very often because I get so many people asking me, I've got this retirement corpus, what do I do with this money? When you get that corpus, it is very difficult to figure out how to plan this corpus to get your monthly expenses. And remember, the number of schemes that you can put in to get regular income like fixed deposit, senior citizens, post office MIS, these are very limited, right? To just these 3 options. People's requirement is much higher, right? So it takes care of, and now with the introduction of the new systematic withdrawal plan that's available on the 60%. So in the NPS, there is 60% that you get as a lump sum tax-free. Now it has been allowed that instead of it coming as a lump sum, you can withdraw it over a period of time, which means like a systematic withdrawal plan. And I think that's really nice because then you don't really face this problem at retirement ki, how do I now plan this corpus? So that money is still invested. Hopefully it'll keep growing. And you pull it out as and when you really need it, right? So I think it really ticks boxes on all aspects in terms of giving you a tax benefit at investing, giving you equity exposure, logged in so that the money can compound, and at the time of retirement you have that amount that you can pull out based on your needs in a very tax efficient manner, right? So I think it really ticks all the boxes as a product is concerned. And I'm a little disappointed to see the adoption of the product is a little low right now. And I think if we can build the right awareness, I think, it all the features that are required are there now. If I think some more awareness can be built around this product, then I'm pretty sure that I had actually also written about providing an extra tax benefit for this, so corporate employees have this benefit under both the old and the new regime.
Sure.
And I think, if the same can be provided for individuals and self-employed as well, if it can also, the 50,000 deduction can also be made available under the new tax regime, then I'm sure that the adoption of the product will go up further.
No, very true. And I mean, I was just looking at some numbers in terms of subscriber additions. I think since the last 1 year, the all citizen model, which is the individual 50,000, that number of subscribers seems to have gone down. So maybe, I mean, I'm not attributing it to that, but that could be one reason.
Yeah.
I think, and you touched upon a right point. You have like a dual engine kind of giving you money. One, you have the pension income that's coming in to you, and then you have the systematic lump sum withdrawal, where you can kind of time at what frequency, whether you want it monthly, quarterly, half yearly, or yearly. And so you have two money sources coming in. One is tax free, and the other you have to pay tax as per your the tax bracket you are at the time of that you receive the money. Do you see a different in behavior between men and women about NPS?
Yeah, I feel the uptake is lower. I have really not seen the data, but from what I see, again, I see that there is some hesitation in taking it up, maybe because of the long lock-in and accessibility to funds. That could be one of the reasons for the lower adoption.
Yeah, that's true, because people kind of tell me that the reason that they're investing is that there is a lock-in. I actually tell them this is the advantage of the product, that there is a lock-in. It's like the old used to have the fill it, shut it, forget it. It's one of those days when you actually need the money, when you kind of retire at 60. So coming to women again, and from an investment perspective, obviously women are all types. You have young women just entering. You have women who are in the corporate journey. There are a lot of women who are kind of professionals who may not be in in part of the regular. They're doing stuff on their own, and obviously you have women, maybe a largish portion of women who are housewives as well. I think. Do you think that obviously retirement is important for everybody, men, women. But do you think that women need to play a larger role in preparing for retirement, and NPS can kind of play a role there as well?
Absolutely. I irrespective of whether you're working or not, everybody has a retirement age, right? And even for housewives, it's a very good way to actually build up a corpus for your old age. So, even though you may not retire, and anyway, women don't retire from household responsibilities. But the point is that it's really about planning for your old age, right? And right now, you may not be able to see the effect. This is what I always say to people, that you're going to remember me when you turn 60, and you're going to thank me for telling you to invest in this product, because it's as you said, it's invest, forget about it, and then use it in
when
the
you
old
need it,
age.
when you actually need it.
Yeah.
From a retirement perspective, or from a savings perspective, you tend to save for your children, you tend to save for your children's education, you tend to save for their trip overseas maybe, or try to save for their marriages, you try to save for a house, you try to save for a car, asset, whatever. But you never think that I need to kind of provide for myself as an individual. And that's what kind of, I keep telling, NPS kind of helps you prepare for a time when you don't have that primary cash flow. So you need to prepare for yourself. Obviously, you need to be healthy, you need to be mentally all right. All that given. But at the end of it, if you don't have that cash flow, it kind of drive anybody down to into a situation where you cannot really handle and kind of prepare for a future where that kind of, if you don't have those monies,
Exactly.
You could have a completely different.
And I think it's a great way to have like a me fund, a fund where you're saving, and for a time when your responsibilities are lower, and you will have this fund available for you to spend on yourself. So which is why I would say that all women need to do this. I do advocate this me fund for women, and I do believe that the NPS is a great way for them to invest. Now, while there exists a lot of mutual funds and some really good funds out there, One of the other things that I think works well for NPS is that you really don't have to figure out which one do I do, because I know there are a couple of pension fund managers, but it's not like they're different categories, and it's not, you're not having that choice. Yeah, you're not having that choice overload, out here. So I feel somewhere this is an easier option to choose as well.
And that's enough for everybody. It was a pleasure chatting with you. Because at least I keep believing that NPS is one of India's best kept secrets. Very few people talk about it. Maybe they have reasons not to talk about it, but from a like a security or from a investment perspective, I believe and we believe that NPS really has a future. I mean, we are at 11 lakh crores and growing, and it's still hit a very small portion of people who are actually looking at it from a savings point of view. So thanks, Mrin. Thanks for sharing your time with us and your experience. Pleasure meeting you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Korean.